Welcome back. Today we're diving into something really ambitious, maybe one of our most challenging deep dives yet. We're looking at sources proposing a single theory for, well, almost everything, a unified theory for physics, and a solution to the hard problem of consciousness.
It's definitely out there. The core idea hinges entirely on the mathematics of the octonions,
Yeah.
often written as math BBO. They're the biggest of those four special number systems, the normed division algebras. You've got the reals, complex numbers, quaternions, and then these guys, the octonions.
Right, the ones that are notoriously difficult, and it's because they break a fundamental rule, isn't it? Non-associativity. Maybe just quickly explain what that means.
Sure. So normally in math, if you multiply three things, say A, B, and C, it doesn't matter if you do A times B first, then times C, or A times B times C.
Yeah.
The answer is the same. With octonions, not true. ABC is generally not the same as ABC. The order you group them in changes the result.
Okay, and isn't that precisely why physicists, well, mostly gave up on them for fundamental theories? Quantum field theory really relies on associative math, like matrix multiplication.
Exactly. Standard methods just break down. But this theory flips that on its head. It says the non-associativity isn't a bug, it's the crucial feature.
How so?
Well, because octonions don't allow standard associative structures, they mathematically force something else to exist. It's a specific kind of symmetry group. It's called the exceptional Lie group G2. It's basically the symmetry group of the non-associativity itself.
Ah, okay. So the breakdown of one kind of mathematical structure forces the appearance of another very specific structure, G2.
Precisely. G2 acts like the gatekeeper for this non-associative world. And what's really fascinating is that G2 is the starting point, the mathematical seed, you could say, from which you can build up the whole family of other exceptional line groups. And the big one people talk about in physics is E8.
E8, right. That pops up in string theory and grand unified theory candidates. It's this huge complex structure.
Yes, and these theories suggest that the rich structure of something like E8 might be exactly what's needed to naturally contain the symmetries of the standard model, the SU3, SU2, U1 forces, and maybe even explain why we see three generations of matter particles. It's a mathematical necessity argument.
So the weird math of octonions forces the existence of the kind of geometry physicists have been looking for. That's quite elegant, actually. But okay, that's the physics side. How does this connect to us, to consciousness? That feels like a huge leap.
It is a leap. The hypothesis posits this fundamental octonion field isn't just mathematical structure out there. It has two sides, two aspects. One is what we just discussed, the extrinsic or relational aspect. That's the math giving rise to particles, forces, space-time geometry, all that. But the other aspect is proposed to be intrinsic or experiential. This is the subjective character of the field itself. It's supposedly the basic stuff of what it's likeness experience.
Wow. Okay. So the field isn't just describing reality, it is experience at some fundamental level. Our minds aren't just some emergent thing from brain complexity, but they're tapping into this fundamental field.
That's the core idea. It suggests our consciousness is directly connected to the universe's most basic mathematical structure.
So what's the link? How does that connection actually work? What's the mechanism proposed here?
The proposed mechanism is attention, our conscious attention. The framework pictures the universe as a kind of reflexive loop. Think of John Archibald Wheeler's old idea, the participatory anthropic principle, or PP.
Wheeler's PAP. The idea that observers are necessary to bring the universe into being.
Sort of, yeah, but this gives it a potential physical basis. The fundamental octonion yield evolves, gives rise to complex structures like brains, which support conscious observers, and then crucially, the attention of those observers acts back on the field itself.
Acts back how? Like collapsing the wave function?
Essentially, yes. In this view, attention is the physical process that resolves the inherent quantum indefiniteness or fuzziness of the field. It makes reality concrete, definite.
So the universe creates observers, and the observers, through their attention, finalize the state of the universe. A loop.
Exactly. It's a very integrated picture. Physics, mind, observation, all tied together by this one underlying octonion structure.
It sounds incredibly elegant, almost poetic, but there has to be a catch, right? What's the big problem?
Oh, there's a huge one. A massive technical obstacle. To make this more than just a philosophical sketch, you need to be able to calculate with it. You need a working theory, and that requires developing a completely new kind of physics, a non-associative quantum mechanics.
And why is that so incredibly difficult? We have quantum mechanics.
Because all our current quantum tools, operators, state vectors, path integrals, they all implicitly rely on associativity. They assume the order of operations doesn't fundamentally change the outcome in that specific way. When ABC isn't the same as ABC, your whole mathematical toolbox breaks. How do you define time evolution? How do you calculate probabilities? It's like the ground rules shift, depending on how you look.
Right. It's not just harder math, it's a different kind of math is needed for the physics.
Precisely. People have used octonions in physics before, but usually by finding clever ways to sidestep or tame the non-associativity. This model embraces it as fundamental, and we just don't have the language for that yet.
So wrapping this up then, what's the real takeaway here? Even if the math is currently out of reach, what does this idea force us to consider?
I think the value is in the question it poses. It's profound, really. If the fundamental mathematical blueprint of the physical world is also the raw substrate of our conscious attention,
Then does reality, in some sense, need us, the observers focusing that attention, in order to become fully concrete?
yeah, it suggests that maybe, just maybe, any final theory of everything can't just be about particles and forces. It has to somehow include the nature of the mind itself right from the beginning.
A challenging thought indeed. Something for all of you to think about. We'll leave it there for today.